Hey everyone. Throwaway account for reasons that'll be obvious soon. I've been lurking on here for a while, but now I think it's finally my turn to spill. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for 6 years. Let's call her Bella because she is drop dead gorgeous. The kind of woman who turns heads when she walks into a room. Long dark hair, legs for days, that wild energy that makes you feel like you're on fire just being around her. She's smart too, but, emotionally? Let's just say she's a walking soap opera. Beautiful, hysterical, and completely unpredictable. Our relationship has always been a bit of a roller coaster, passionate highs, screaming lows, rinse and repeat. But I loved her. I still do, in a way that makes me hate myself. So when my company planned this weekend camping trip for employees and their families, I was all in. Bella was surprisingly enthusiastic about it too. She even went out and bought new hiking boots and this tiny little tank top she said was just for the woods. I figured maybe it would be good for us. Get out of the house, unplug from the chaos, roast some marshmallows, reconnect. My best friend and co-worker, Nate, was coming too and bringing his wife, Lisa. They've always been the golden couple, sweet, dependable, a little boring if I'm being honest. But Bella loved hanging out with Lisa. Said she was grounding. We drove up Friday afternoon. Tents, sleeping bags, booze, and enough bug spray to coat a small army. Everyone was in high spirits. The first night, we sat around the campfire laughing, drinking, and telling dumb ghost stories. Bella was in a good mood, playful, even affectionate, which was rare for her in public. If I'd known what was coming, I would have bottled that moment. Because it was the last time I'd look at her and not feel completely hollow. The next morning, we all woke up groggy but happy. Breakfast was instant coffee and burnt bacon, but no one cared. Bella was laughing with Lisa, barefoot in the grass, her hair wild and tangled, looking like she belonged in some kind of indie film about freedom and chaos. Nate and I were trying to figure out how to set up the fishing lines when Bella suddenly walked over and grabbed Nate by the arm, not in a weird way, not at first. She just smiled and said, "Come on, help me find some firewood. You boys'll burn through it all by tonight." I didn't think anything of it. Nate was always the helpful type. Bella was always the demanding type. I just nodded and went back to trying to keep the damn bait from flying off the hook. But after 10, 15, then 20 minutes went by, I started getting this weird, gnawing feeling in my gut. You know when something just feels off, and your brain starts filling in blanks you don't want to see? That's where I was. I tried to brush it off, told myself they probably just went further out to find dry wood. But I couldn't sit still. So I told Lisa I was going to go look for them. She didn't seem suspicious, just said, "Tell Nate to stop being a wood snob and grab whatever's dry." I left the camp and started walking down the trail that leads deeper into the trees. I wasn't sure what I expected, maybe they just wandered too far. Maybe Bella twisted her ankle and Nate was helping her back. Hell, maybe I was just being paranoid. But then I heard them. Voices. Laughter. Bella's laugh, high-pitched, breathless. Flirty. And Nate's lower one, almost nervous. I crept closer, trying to be quiet. My heart was slamming in my chest so loud I thought they might hear me coming. And then I saw them. Leaning against a tree. Bella was pressed up against Nate, her hands on his chest, his hands on her waist. They weren't kissing, not yet. But it was close. Way too close. Intimate. Familiar. Like this wasn't the first time. I froze. For a second, I couldn't even feel my body. It was like all the air got sucked out of the forest. Then she kissed him. Pulled him down by the collar and kissed him. I turned around and walked back to camp, trying not to throw up. When I got back to the campsite, I didn't say anything at first. I just sat there, pretending like I didn't feel like I was about to come apart. Lisa asked if I found them, and I just nodded and said, "They're on their way." A few minutes later, they came strolling in, all smiles. Bella was carrying a bundle of sticks like nothing happened, like she hadn't just shattered whatever we used to call our marriage. Nate looked tense. I could see it in his jaw, in the way he didn't make eye contact with me. Bella came over and dropped the firewood next to the pit. "Mission accomplished," she said, grinning. I stood up and looked her straight in the eyes. "You done?" She blinked. "What?" "With him," I said, nodding toward Nate. "Are you done with him?" Her smile froze. Nate turned pale. Lisa looked confused and asked, "What's going on?" That's when I lost it. "I saw you, Bella. In the woods. With Nate." "Don't act like I'm crazy." Bella's face changed in an instant, from fake innocence to complete hysteria. She started yelling, "Oh my God, are you spying on me now? Seriously? You're insane. You've always been paranoid." I said, "I wasn't paranoid until I had a reason to be." Lisa just kept saying, wait, what is he talking about? "Bella? Nate?" Her voice was cracking, tears welling in her eyes. Nate tried to say something, but Bella cut him off. "Nothing happened. We were just talking. You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Talking? With your hands all over him?" I shot back. "You kissed him." She didn't even deny it. Instead, she flipped the script. "You don't even pay attention to me anymore. All you do is work and come home tired and expect me to be some Stepford wife." I stared at her in disbelief. "So cheating is your solution?" She crossed her arms, breathing heavily, eyes darting around like a cornered animal. "Maybe if you acted like a real husband, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." Nate looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Lisa was crying, hands over her mouth, staring at him like she didn't even recognize the guy. I didn't yell after that. I just walked away, into the woods, where no one could see me come apart. I don't know how long I was in the woods. Maybe an hour, maybe more. Time just stopped making sense. I sat on a fallen log, staring at nothing, trying to get a grip, but the anger and pain kept coming in waves. My wife, the woman I've loved for nearly a decade, kissed one of my best friends. And she had the audacity to spin it back on me. Like I drove her into his arms. Like this was somehow my fault. I felt like the biggest idiot on the planet. All the signs I ignored. The late night texting. The sudden laughter read nothing on her phone. The way she started dressing a little different when we went out with the group. I thought it was just her being more confident. Turns out, she was just preparing for someone else's attention. The worst part? I couldn't unsee it. Her hand in his hair. His mouth on her neck. I could feel my stomach twist every time I replayed it. My brain wouldn't shut up, it kept asking how long? How far did it go? Was this the first time? Or just the first time I saw? I thought about leaving then and there. Taking the car and just driving until the gas ran out. But I couldn't. We came in Nate's SUV, and all our stuff was there. Plus, Lisa. I couldn't just leave her with those two traitors. She didn't deserve that. Eventually, I forced myself back to camp. Everyone was quiet. The fire was burning low. Bella was wrapped in a blanket, sulking on a camp chair like she was the victim. Nate was nowhere to be seen. Lisa was sitting alone, her face red from crying, bottle of wine in hand. When she saw me, she stood and whispered, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I swear, I didn't know anything." I nodded. "I believe you." And for a moment, standing there in the smoky glow, two betrayed people in a bubble of disbelief, I felt something strange, not comfort, exactly, but connection. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid in the tent, staring at the nylon ceiling, hearing every whisper of wine through the trees and every crackle of dying embers outside. Bella and I shared the tent, but we might as well have been on separate planets. She turned away from me the second we zipped it shut, curled into a ball, crying silently into her hoodie. I didn't say a word to her. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why again. I was done trying to make sense of a situation that had already torn me apart. Around 3 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep and stepped outside. I needed air. Space. Sanity. That's when I saw Lisa sitting near the fire pit alone, bundled in a hoodie and sweatpants, poking at the ashes with a stick. Her eyes met mine, and she gave me a tired, broken smile. "You too?" she asked. "Yeah. Sleep's not happening." I sat next to her. For a long time, we didn't talk. Just stared into the glowing coals, two people burned by the ones who were supposed to love us. Eventually, she said, "You ever think about how quickly life flips on you? Like, one day you're in love, making plans, and the next, you're here." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was terrifyingly true. And then, something shifted. It wasn't premeditated. It wasn't planned. But when she reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. It was like this storm of betrayal and loneliness had pulled us together. I looked at her, and she looked at me, and suddenly all I could think about was the warmth of her palm, the way she understood without me needing to explain anything. We kissed. Soft at first. Hesitant. But then deeper. Desperate. Like we were trying to drown out the ache with something real. We didn't stop ourselves. That night, while our spouses slept or pretended to, we crossed a line of our own. I should have felt guilt. But all I felt was seen. For the first time since everything shattered, I didn't feel alone. I woke up with Lisa's head on my chest and 1,000 alarm bells going off in my brain. The fire had long gone out. The forest was quiet except for birds chirping and someone zipping open a tent nearby. We were still near the pit, curled up together on a blanket someone must have left out. Reality hit like a hammer. I just cheated on my wife. With my friend's wife. Because my wife cheated on me. With my best friend. It should have felt like a mess, and it was, but somehow, it also felt equal. Not revenge. Not planned. Just survival. Like two people clinging to the only warmth in a freezing storm. Lisa stirred and looked up at me. Her eyes weren't wide with regret. Just tired. Sad. Resigned. "You okay?" she asked softly. "Not even close," I said. "But I don't think I'd take it back." She nodded slowly. "Me neither." We sat in silence again until the tension around camp started to shift. People were emerging, making coffee, stretching, walking toward the lake. Bella stepped out of our tent, rubbing her eyes and looking like hell. She saw me sitting with Lisa. Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't say anything. Just stared. And that's when Tyler walked out behind her. They weren't touching. But the space between them said everything. They'd spent the night together. Again. Bella's eyes bounced from me to Lisa and back. She looked away quickly and walked off toward the water, fast. Tyler glanced at us, but his expression didn't change. That smug, entitled look stayed glued to his face like nothing could touch him. No shame. No guilt. Just Tyler being Tyler. Lisa muttered under her breath, "I can't believe I ever married that jackass." I stood up and said, "I'm done. Done pretending. Done playing nice. Done swallowing everything just to keep some illusion alive." Lisa stood with me. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" she asked. I nodded. It's time to break the script. We didn't hide anything when we walked back into camp together. Lisa and I didn't hold hands or make some grand statement. But we didn't avoid each other, either. We stood close. Talked low. Shared a coffee. The shift in energy was obvious, and people started noticing. Especially Bella. She kept looking over, biting her lip, arms crossed like she was trying to keep from combusting. Finally, she cornered me behind the main tent, her voice sharp and shaky. "What the hell was that last night? I didn't play dumb. You tell me. You and Tyler made your choice. I made mine." Her eyes went wide. "So what? You're with Lisa now? Is that what this is?" I shrugged. What this is none of your business anymore. You're punishing me, she hissed. No, I said. I'm finally reacting. That shut her up for a second. Her expression flickered anger, guilt, confusion, back to anger. Then came the dagger. I made a mistake, okay? I got drunk, and it happened. But you're throwing everything away for her? I laughed bitterly. You made a mistake multiple times. With my best friend. While sober. And now you're mad I didn't just keep crying quietly in the corner? Bella didn't answer. She just stared like I was someone she didn't recognize. Later that day, Lisa and I sat with our respective spouses and had one of the most brutally honest conversations of our lives. It was weirdly peaceful. No yelling. No accusations. Just the truth. Tyler smirked and said, "So, what, you two swapping now?" Lisa didn't flinch. Maybe. Bella didn't say anything. She just kept glancing between us like she wanted to rewind time but had no idea which buttons to press. That night, we slept in each other's tents. For real this time. No secrets. No lies. Just Lisa and me, two betrayed spouses trying to make sense of a brand new world. And yeah, we were switching couples. But not for show. Not out of spite. We were just moving forward in the only direction that made sense anymore. Coming back from that camping trip felt like re-entering a different timeline. We didn't make any grand announcements. No social media updates, no dramatic Facebook statuses. But word spread like wildfire through our friend group faster than I thought possible. Some people were shocked. Others pretended to be, but clearly enjoyed the drama. A few even quietly admitted they always thought Bella and Tyler had weird energy. Lisa moved out of her place a week later and into my apartment. It started as a practical thing. She didn't want to be around Tyler, and I wasn't exactly eager to stay alone. But it became something more. We settled into a rhythm that felt natural. Peaceful. Like we weren't just reacting anymore, but actually building something. Of course, Bella didn't take that well. She showed up one night, unannounced, standing in my doorway in a hoodie and yoga pants, mascara smudged under her eyes. You really moved her in? I didn't move. She needed a place. She scoffed. That's what this is now? You're her hero? No, I said. I'm just not yours anymore. That hit her. I saw it. She tried to guilt-trip me, talked about our history, the life we'd built, how fast I was throwing it all away. But the thing is, I wasn't. Bella threw it away the moment she chose Tyler. I was just picking up the pieces she left behind. Later, Tyler called me too. Drunk. Rambling. Tried to paint it like I'd stolen his wife. I let him vent. Let him say his piece. Then I told him the truth. You didn't lose Lisa. You gave her away. Click. End of call. Meanwhile, Lisa and I just kept being. Cooking dinner together. Watching old movies. Making each other laugh over nothing. It was strange how something born out of betrayal could feel so stable. But that's life, I guess. Messy. Complicated. Unpredictable. And sometimes, strangely poetic. Life with Lisa was, for lack of a better word, quiet. No screaming matches. No walking on eggshells. No sudden storms over forgotten errands or misunderstood texts. Just peace. We both knew what hell looked like, so we appreciated calm in a way most people don't. We kept things low-key. Went on walks. Cooked. Talked about stupid stuff late into the night. It felt like we were healing together, not just from Bella and Tyler, but from years of ignoring our own needs. And then came the twist. One morning, Lisa sat me down at the kitchen table. Her eyes were wide, fingers nervously wrapped around a coffee mug she hadn't even sipped. I need to tell you something, she said. I swear, my stomach did a backflip. My trauma reflex kicked in hard. I thought, here we go again. What now? She took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. My brain blanked. Pregnant? We'd only been, well, it was possible. And she looked terrified, like she thought I was going to run. But I didn't. I laughed. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. But because, after everything, after betrayal, lies, emotional wreckage, this was the thing that scared us? I'm not going anywhere, I said, finally. Not again. She teared up and I pulled her into my arms. It wasn't a fairy tale. There were still scars. Trust issues. The occasional awkward run-in with mutual friends who didn't know what to say. But we were figuring it out. Together. No more secrets. No more lies. Just two people who found each other in the ruins and decided to build something new. If you told me a year ago that I'd catch my wife cheating on me in the woods, sleep with her best friend the same night, and end up in a relationship with her months later, I would have laughed in your face. Or maybe cried. Probably both. But life's weird like that. It doesn't care about your plans. When I look back now, here's what I've come to understand. Cheating doesn't come from nowhere, but it's never justified. Bella was beautiful, vibrant, and exciting. But she was also impulsive, selfish, and emotionally unpredictable. I spent years mistaking chaos for passion. That was my mistake. But the betrayal? That was hers. Trust your gut. When things feel off, they usually are. I ignored red flags. I thought being a good husband meant tolerating bad behavior. I confused patience with self-sacrifice. Pain can lead to clarity. The worst night of my life, walking into that clearing, seeing my wife with someone I called a friend, led to the clearest moment I've ever had. That was the night I took my life back. Healing is messy. I didn't expect to end up with Lisa. It wasn't part of some revenge plot or rebound spiral. We just saw each other. Understood the damage. And tried to grow something honest from the ashes. You're allowed to move on in your own way. People love to judge. Trust me, we heard it all. But unless someone's lived through it, they don't get to tell you how to heal. You do what brings you peace. And finally, if you're reading this and you're being betrayed, get out. You'll survive. It'll hurt, it'll suck, you'll question everything. But you'll come out stronger. Wiser. Sharper. And maybe, if you're lucky, you'll find someone who sees you fully and doesn't flinch. That's what I found with Lisa.